Hello, this is Ashley of Ashera Arts, and today I wanted to share with you a card I made for not necessarily Mother's Day, but it was well timed for Mother's Day. It's a tattoo style dimensional card with a nice little mom banner over the heart there. Alright, and via movie magic I've got all my pieces set out so you won't have to deal with too much waiting on cutting and tracing and all that. I'll give you a quick list of supplies for what you need. You should want one off-white card. I made mine vertical, or open vertically. I just felt like that was more appropriate for this. One piece of red, maybe a little bit of pattern to it, very subtle pattern cardstock. One strip of, you can really use any sort of other sort of cardstock you want. I chose a white shimmer because I feel like it plays off of the cream colored cardstock very well. You want ink pads in the colors of your choosing. I've got black, red, and brown here for a little bit of ink daubing. And I've got my special little tool, also known as an eyeshadow applicator, to put that on with. A stapler, a pencil, ruler, eraser, all pretty basic, and then a nice archival pen. So what you're going to start out with, and what I've already actually drawn on here, is you're going to want to draw your heart onto your card. And I was actually using this somewhat as a tutorial to just kind of freehand a heart, which it's not really freehanding it though. It's what I used for my heart was you need a circle and a 45-degree angle. So I just traced my circle down on there twice, one on each of the little humps at the top, and once I had gotten those traced out, I used my 45-degree angle to make the bottom part. Now this gives you a very sort of sterile heart shape. It helps if you kind of erase and come back around, really smooth and soften the line to give yourself the full heart. And as you can tell, this heart's a little bigger than the one I initially started with. The one I initially started with was using the cap on my rubber cement, and this one is done using the bottom of it. Just as a little, I wanted the heart a little bigger for this version. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and cut out your heart. I usually try to save as much near the middle as possible because you never know when any of these scraps will come in handy. So I'm just going to start my heart. Oh, I guess I should have mentioned at the beginning you need scissors as well. I like my tiny little sewing scissors because they're super sharp, which I know they won't always be like that, but that's what they're here for now. And you don't have to be nice with this. You can be messy. You can kind of crunch it around. I mean, it's supposed to look like a, classic motorcycle tattoo, and I don't think anybody's really picking on them for their neatness, and so we're just going to keep going around here. I apologize, this is the one part I couldn't really movie magic out. And there. So now you have your heart with a window in it. Go ahead and take your eraser and get rid of any of your stray lines. You don't really have to erase too awfully thoroughly since we're doing the ink smudging around the edge, but just getting the ones that really kind of travel farther out from the border of the heart. This is really a very forgiving card. It's got a lot of just nice little spots where you can fudge it. And if not, it's a Mother's Day card. Moms aren't really known for their particularly harsh criticisms when it comes to their card on their day. So now we've got that. I'll go ahead and put the red cardstock behind it so you can see it a little better. Just so easy. But that obviously looks kind of cookie cuttery, kind of quilty, So we want to give it a little bit more attitude. We're going to start out with our red ink, and you can use any color for this, like I said, and just kind of want to dip your little eyeshadow brush in it, like you were dipping it in paint almost. And just take it around the edge there, just smudge it nicely, get it all smudging, get it nice and gross, as I like to say. Get it all out there. I had a lady the other day telling me that she liked everything to be precise and right on the money. And I told her that was good for some people. Me, I'm in it to have fun with it. So we're just going to keep taking that all around. So you get this nice little halo happening. I love eyeshadow brushes. I'm finding new uses for them every single day. I was considering finding a way to add some glitter to this card too, but right now with just the shimmer banner it gives it just kind of enough bling to it. Not a whole lot, not too little. I'm sorry that you end up having to watch me ink this whole thing. And now that we've got that, we get to go around it with our black ink to give it this nice thick halo effect. When I was making it, I was trying to think about kind of what skin looked like after it had been freshly tattooed. Because, you know, you don't get a mom tattoo on Father's Day. That was also a little bit of the appeal of the off-white cardstock, was almost to make it look a little bit like skin. Not too awful much, though. If your mom's anything like mine, they're probably not the biggest fan of tattoos. Not enormously so. So here we're making our little halo around the other side. And we're ending up with this very sort of smudgy, rough, heart that only a mother could love sort of thing. Close that off. So that's what we end up with after having smudged the red and the black ink all around that window. I'll show it to you with the red cardstock again. Much less cookie cuttery. Much harder look to it, even though it's a softer edge. So now we're going to start on our banner. Like I said, I like to use the shimmer cardstock, just gives it this little bit of look to it. I don't know if you can actually see the shimmer in this. It's not the greatest camera for such things. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your handy dandy scissors again, and at first just cut yourself a little 1, 2 out of the edge there. Just give it the nice banner finish to it. And one of the things that I really like about this particular card as well is the fact that it goes off the edge. It doesn't care where the borders are. You can just let those little tails go right off. So from there, since you've got your one side established, you just want to hold it, and while you're holding it there, fold it back so that it's at the angle of the edge of the heart that you want it to sit at. And then you're going to fold it in a complementary angle so that it's right back at that original horizontal. That's the part that's a little bit tricky, and you'll get to see me here do it again on the other side. But I don't know how well you can see it here. You bend it at that diagonal, but then you end up bending it at the same diagonal to get it to move down and parallel over. So you get this nice little oof, oof, oof. because sound effects are everything whenever it comes to describing things. So you take that, see where it goes over on your other side, and you're going to save that same angle again, just to the other direction. And then once you get over there, just bend it out again. It's really the parallel trick to the banner that makes or breaks this card. So now, we're that close. Take your ruler, wherever you've placed it in the middle of this video, and measure just about an approximate how far out it is. And I had left about an inch border, so I'll leave about an inch border over here. Just mark it off with your finger or whatever. It's never perfect, doesn't need to be perfect. So holding about an inch there, snip it in, and snip it in, and we have our beautiful banner. Now I'm going to take this off camera for a second so I can write Mom on it so that she knows that it is a card about her. And the standard mom tattoo, but we don't need to talk about that. So now we have our mom banner. It doesn't have quite the oomph of the first one yet because we're going to come through and we're going to ink that some more. So this is where your brown ink comes in. Since we're making the banner look a little bit more distressed, take the brown over it first and just dab it on there. I'm just using the same dauber for all of them because it's just all going to blend together really nicely. I love letting my paints just mix mid-project just because it helps seem to give a little bit of a uniformity to the project. If every color smacks a little bit of every other color in it, then you notice there's a slight bit more unity. So take that down across your first two edges. And to really give it some depth and pop, you want to take it along those creases, just right in there. And take it out from the other one. So you end up almost having this sort of tiger striped look to it. But whenever you bend it, it just looks very deep. So we're going to do that on the other side. Just ink it up real nice. And don't be afraid to get too much on there. The shimmer cardstock is very forgiving. It acts almost like a glossy cardstock where you have a few minutes of wiggle room. If you mess up, you can just wipe it off pretty quick. Usually a little bit of water will take care of most mess ups too. So then I'm just inking the ends of my banner there, because what's a banner without pretty nasty ends? Just going to work all of this together. So now we've got our brown on it. We want to add a little black. We're not tattooing a heart anymore, so we can leave the red alone for this round. And we're just going to put some black on there. The black we're going to be a little more sparing on here because we don't want it to look horribly over outlined. So just 1, 2 in our creases there. Repeat on the other side. We're just using it to give a little extra depth to the already deep parts on this particular spot. Once again, just kind of giving it that hard, freshly tattooed line around the edge. And it goes on so pretty. And this is just your standard dye ink. Like, these are little, I don't know, 12 for $5 stamp pads. They're so useful for everything because their size, can carry them around almost anywhere. I know there's 2 different color sets of them and I have them both, so it's like having 24 different stamp pads in very little space. So there's our mom banner all spread out. There it is, folded back together. Very nice, very deep. Got kind of a little bit of a piratey look to it whenever it gets down to it. And always remember to store your ink pads upside down. I can't tell people that enough. It's just one of those simple little things you can do to just save yourself so much hassle in the long run. So we're going to take our heart and have it behind there. We're doing the little held together mock-up first. Everything looks good. Now you can see everything looks good. Looks like everything's lining up correctly. So we'll drop that paper out for right now. That's actually not going to go into the very end. This is a very delayed gratification sort of card. We're going to take our banner here, and even though your mom part is the width of your heart, I like to make it still bow out just a little bit. Just give it that little extra bit of dimension. And you're going to take your stapler. I like my tiny little cheetah print one, but a tiny attacher would probably be much better in this scenario. And you're going to sneak it right in, right up to that crease in there. You're going to staple your banner in. It also makes a very loud noise. It's tends to freak people out a little bit. Like, I tend to have it in my business box, and whenever I'm stapling receipts together, people jump a little bit. So then come in on the other side. You've got your dimensional part all popped out and everything. And just staple that side right under the crease as well. It's very important to get it underneath the crease so that you can't actually see the staple, which I'm kind of wrestling with at the moment. You can also just flatten it out when you staple it, which tends to help, but I don't want to be too married to that. So get it as deep under there as you can and staple. So now we've got our card with the dimensional accent already attached. The nice part about this accent is it folds pretty flat. So now we can add rubber cement, which I also should have listed in the supplies at the beginning. But this is my first video, so I'm really pretty happy with it so far. And you want to lay your rubber cement in a very thin layer all over the back of this card. Well, the back of the front of this card, on the opposite side from where you've been working. So we'll just lay that in there. Rubber cement is a very tricky glue, but once you get the hang of it, it's the glue that will never abandon you. It is in probably my top 3 glues. I feel like that maybe should be a list here in the near future. Favorite glues. So we lay that all over in a thin coat and let it dry accordingly. In the meantime, we're going to take our red paper and lay a thin coat on that. And now you can do this one of 2 ways. You can either lay it all over the paper and come back with a rubber cement pickup, which is essentially an eraser for this particular type of glue, and pull it out through the window. You'll get a little bit of ink pulled up with that as well. Or you can kind of go around where you approximate the window to be. Either way will work. The going around the window in an approximate way can sometimes make you have to pick up in the middle anyway, and can give you a more bubbly appearance around the edges there. So it's not the way I tend to work, but I always figure you can add ink back. So this is almost completely dry. You can see the shine's almost gone, a little bit up in this corner still. And this will still be drying. Rubber cement is a glue that's very good for thin papers. As you can tell, this paper doesn't have a whole lot of meat to it. It's a very thin pattern paper. It came out of the cheapy little stack there. So now you just line your 2 sheets of paper up together and set it on there. The magical thing about rubber cement is it's a glue that sticks to itself. So as long as you've got it on two surfaces, they'll stick together just fine. So we come through here, and there is pretty much the finished product of our card. I'll come through here with my pickup here in a second and just take that rubber cement right out of the middle. So you can see where you just come through and lift it right back up. I'm not sure if you can tell the difference there, that there's a hole in the middle of that shiny. So there is our mom card, complete with dimensional banner and inked up heart. I apparently put the banner a little bit lower on this one than I did before. I think it's mostly because I was working with a larger heart. But there is our mom card. And one of these will probably get sent out to my mom here in the near future. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you tuned in, and hopefully I will have another video up here soon. Thanks!